Welcome everyone to a presentation on the City of Saginaw's tax caps. I'm Lori Brown and I serve as the city's finance director and as city assessor. There is proposed legislation to remove the dollar cap, so I wanted to run through the proposed legislation, mechanics of the tax cap, and the impact of removing the dollar cap. The proposed legislation is House Bill 4121 of 2025 and is sponsored by State Representative Amos O'Neill. The legislation would prohibit a local unit's authority to impose a revenue cap on property taxes. The legislation would only remove the $3.8 million cap and would leave the millage rate cap of 7.5 in place. Our charter language is summarized on this slide and was put in place in 1979 by a vote of citizens. We are allowed to levy up to 7.5 mills or $3.8 million, whichever is less. State statute allows for a maximum operating millage of up to 20 mills. Charters generally have a maximized authorized millage rate written into them, but if the charter does not specify, then the default maximum is 10 mills. In the original 1935 city charter, the maximum millage was set at 15 mills. That later changed to 10 mills, and then changed again in 1979 when the tax caps were voted in. Our charter language is unusual because it not only includes a millage cap, but also a dollar cap on tax revenues. The $3.8 million cap was the 1978 property tax revenue on the ad valorem roll. So the intent in 1979 was to cut the millage rate from 10 mills to 7.5 mills and also hold property tax revenue to the same revenue as 1978. There are limitations in place that prevent a local government from increasing taxes. The Headley Amendment of 1978 states that if a local unit's value increases beyond the rate of inflation, the millage rate must be permanently reduced. In 1997, Saginaw's property values were increasing faster than the rate of inflation. This triggered a permanent Headley reduction to our operating millage rate. The 7.5 mills was reduced to 7.3830 permanently. This can only change back to 7.5 with a vote of citizens. So let's first start talking about some important assessing terms to help understand the basis for taxes. State equalized value represents half of market value and increases or decreases based on market conditions or improvements made to your home. Property taxes are calculated on taxable value. Taxable value is a calculated number based on the prior year taxable value and can only increase at the rate of inflation up to 5%, whichever is less. This keeps property tax increases on your house limited. The taxable value cannot be greater than your state equalized value. So if your property value is going up because the housing market is doing well, your taxable value is capped at increasing by the rate of inflation. Here is the formula for calculating a tax. Taxable value times the millage rate divided by 1,000 equals the tax. We divide by 1,000 because a mill is expressed as $1 per thousand. Now I want to clarify the difference between the ad valorem rule and the special acts rule. Ad valorem is a term which means according to value. The ad valorem rule contains all of what I consider normal things as opposed to the special acts rule. The ad valorem rule contains the real and personal property that have the normal tax rate levied against them as opposed to a specific tax. There are two types of property. First, there is real property. Real property is land and anything attached to the land. Buildings, pavement, fencing, and the land they sit on are examples of real property. The second is personal property and is often referred to as the equipment that is used to run a business, like copiers, computers, machinery, and equipment. Special Act rules are separate rules from the ad valorem rule. Special Act rules do not pay the ad valorem tax rate. Each special act pays a specific tax instead. Two common special acts in the city are IFTs and OPRAs. Both require council approval and then approval at the state level. Special acts are encouraged for the new investment they bring, and in exchange are given a reduced tax rate for a set number of years. Special acts rules are separate from the ad valorem rule, and the tax revenue is not included in the $3.8 million cap. Shifting to tax rates. This slide shows the breakdown of where your taxes go. The 2025 combined millage rate for residential properties is around 56 mills for all entities. In July and December, you receive a tax bill, and you pay the tax bill at City Hall. The taxes levied on those bills are taxes for the city and a bunch of other entities, such as the county, the library, Saginaw Transit, and school taxes. The city levies 2 millages that total 13.8 mills. One millage is for general operating purposes, and the other is the police and fire special assessment. The last column shows that about 24% of the total bill stays at the city. The remaining collection is dispersed by the city treasurer to each of these entities every 2 weeks. How do we compare to other local units? I looked at several surrounding cities to see what their operating rate is. Based on 2024 audits, I found millage rates ranging from 7.5 to almost 17 mills. Let's take a closer look at the city's millage rate and see how it is broken down. City operating is 6.3365 mills, and the special assessment for police and fire is 7.5 mills, and that's levied on real property only. Total property tax for 2025 is around $7.5 million. We levied $3.8 million for city operating and $3.7 million for the police and fire special assessment. This slide shows the calculation of taxes with and without a dollar cap. The normal calculation that all other cities do is to multiply the total taxable value by the authorized millage rate. The first calculation shows what our 2025 revenue calculation would be without the dollar cap. The revenue would be about $4.45 million. The second calculation is what we do to back into a millage rate that keeps our revenues below $3.8 million. We divide the maximum revenue by the total taxable value to determine what our millage rate will be to stay under the $3.8 million cap. This year's millage rate is 6.3365, resulting in $3.8 million in revenue. Having the dollar cap in place reduced our revenues by about $632,000 this year. As our city grows, our revenues stay flat because of the dollar cap. It does not matter if we have investments that increase our total value. If a major project brings restaurants, housing, commercial office space, or spurs other development, it does not increase our property tax revenue. When a city grows in value, there is usually a need for additional services like police and fire. Other cities can support additional services because the revenue increases along with growth. Our property values increased in 2025, and we should have seen approximately $632,000 in new revenue. But the dollar cap has forced revenues to remain flat even when the cost of services are rising. We just talked about property tax revenues remaining flat. Revenues have remained flat at $3.8 million annually since 1979. If the dollar cap was not in place, we would have collected approximately $29 million more over the last 46 years. This averages out to be about $630,000 annually, which is in line with the $632,000 projected loss for 2025. This slide shows our millage rate history. Our millage rate is capped at 7.3830. The maximum millage was levied 7 out of the past 10 years. As property values started to rise in 2023, the millage rate was reduced a little each year to stay under the maximum revenue of $3.8 million. The point is that the rate has not fluctuated significantly, and historically we have levied the maximum millage. Since the millage rate has been pretty consistent, I wanted to show the impact to a homeowner if we levied the maximum 7.3830 in 2025 instead of the calculated rate of 6.3365. The first column is taxable values ranging from $10,000 to $80,000. The average taxable value in the city in 2025 was around $22,000. So if we just look at the taxable value of $20,000, that homeowner currently pays about $127 in city operating taxes. The homeowner would pay about $21 more per year if the maximum millage was levied. The increase is less than $2 a month. You can use this chart to estimate what an increase in taxes would be for your property if the dollar cap was lifted. That concludes the information that I have for you regarding the dollar tax cap. Hopefully you found the information helpful. Thank you.